Well, we have waved goodbye to another year, and it's now in the past. And I wanted to just talk about things past. This is a time of our lives where we are very sensitive and nostalgic. We are more attuned with life and paying attention more. And we tend to be a lot more nostalgic. We tend to think a lot about the past. We think about people that we knew in high school or college, in the military if you served, perhaps friends that you had when you were much younger, and or people that you may have dated and may have fallen in love with, someone who broke your heart, someone who you may have broken their hearts. For example, I thought when I was very young that I was in love with someone, and he would pop in my mind for years and years, almost daily, until and I really thought that I was in love with this person, until I realized that I was not in love with this person anymore. I was in love with the memory of this person. So we cannot live and yearn for the past, and we need to protect our hearts when it comes to those things. And I have a story that I wanted to share with you. When I was stationed in Bermuda, and I got stationed in Bermuda from 1983 until 1986, and I had a little boy who was at the time almost 3, and I had sent him back to the States to my mother because I was having a difficult time finding someone to care for him. I was working shift work, different hours. So because I was divorced and I no longer had a dependent with me, I had to move out of Navy housing and into barracks. So I moved into the barracks, and at the time I had befriended someone. He was a lieutenant who was with a squadron down from Jacksonville. We would have P3 squadrons that would come on temporary duty to Bermuda, and they would stay for 6 months, and then they would leave and another squadron would come. So I befriended this lieutenant. He was very nice, very handsome. And often he would come and we would meet in a park right across the street from the barracks, because he was not allowed to come in the female barracks. And when he was a pilot, and when his crew was on alert, meaning they could be launched at any time, he was supposed to remain in flight suit uniform, and he was not supposed to leave the base. So he would come more often than not in flight suit, and I would meet him at the park. We would sit on the bench and we could talk for hours. We would speak about and talk about anything, share about our lives. He had children. I would talk about my son. And we did this many, many, many times. He became a very good friend, and I became very fond of him. The last day, or the night before he left Bermuda to go back to the States permanently, he came and he gave me a gift. And it was this bench that he had made out of popsicle sticks. And on the bench was the figure of a man wearing like a little flight suit, and he actually told me that he cut off a piece of his flight suit somewhere from the inside where it was not noticeable, and he kind of made it to look like a uniform. And next to him was a female with long dark hair, and at the time my hair was very long and was very dark. And that was the most precious gift I had ever received up to that point. Not expensive by any means. And I kept it for many, many years. I never forgot about it. I would think about it all the time. And and it was just, I would think about the moment that he gave it to me, and I saw it, and it was just imprinted in my mind, that moment. And it was just precious to me for years and years and years. Well, I transferred to Pensacola, and I eventually met my ex-husband. And he and I, my gift giver, we lost touch, and but I would always think about him. And our talks. Well, about 2 years ago, almost 30 years later. I found him and I emailed him, and he emailed me right back, and he was shocked to hear from me. So we chatted for a little bit, kind of catching up, and I mentioned to him about the gift, and I described it to him. Do you remember when? And he said, well, no, I don't remember any of that, but I just remember that your life was very tumultuous at the time. And he went on with the conversation about something else. And I was shocked. I was stunned. I was crushed that he did not remember about this amazing gift that he had given me. It was like the crowning glory of our friendship of 6 months. And, sometimes we can be so in love with a memory that we lose sight of the fact that people change, things change, and you can never go back and have the same. And in our minds, an event becomes more magnificent, more romantic, more incredible. And isn't that what legends are made of? And we do have selective memory, where our memory and our brain tends to weed out a lot of very negative aspects, perhaps of a certain event, and it kind of blurs it out, like the blurring effect that you would get from certain makeup, where some of the imperfections are not seen, they're not as visible. So the mind almost creates a different reality. And sometimes we go back, or we want to go back to a specific place that perhaps we visited, where we had this magical time. And when we go back, we think, well, this is not how I remember it. It's just different. It doesn't feel the same. Well, it probably is different, because you cannot relive a moment or relive or duplicate an amazing event. It could be wonderful, but it's going to be wonderful in a different way. So do I regret finding my gift giver? At first I did. I was very sorry that I had called him. But then I thought, no, because he still gave me the gift. There was a moment in time when he handed me that gift, where his heart was in it, where his mind was in it. He made it himself because he cared for me, and he didn't want me to forget about him. And it worked. I never forgot about him or the gift. So the memory is still mine. It's still my gift. And I believe it just, with all the moves and everything, I sort of lost it. It broke. And I think at one point I may have gotten rid of it. So I believe it was Maya Angelou who said, I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. And I will never forget how he made me feel. And that's what I wanted to share with you today. To treasure those memories and treasure the people that you may have known in the past. But to understand that even as much as we may want to go back, or we may want to find something out or rekindle, or we wonder, what if? We still need to protect what we have today, protect our hearts, protect our relationships. Because like I always say, ghosts and memories are flawless. They're not reality. So I thank you for listening, and I hope you had a wonderful day. If you are one of my subscribers and friends, thank you. Welcome back. And if you're not a subscriber, would you want to subscribe right here where my face will kind of pop up? And it would mean a lot to me to have you join me. And there should be a video that will also come up that you could watch right after this. I hope you have an amazing rest of the week. Kisses to my children. I love you. Until next time. Bye-bye.